Hi everyone and welcome to Tosso Show, and I need to avoid saying this in such a way that could scare people off. But anyway, hi everybody and welcome to Tosso Show, and today we're gonna do a game preview of Higurashi no Naku Koroni episode 1 with the 07th mod. So I just finished Higurashi no Naku Koroni episode 1 Onikakushi-hen yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. But anyway, for you it doesn't matter because I may put that video 1 month later or something like that. And it's been a little bit of a long time that I didn't do any game preview, but this time I just want to do it with that 07th mod, which will try to show the console version of the game. Because for those who are not aware, Higurashi no Naku Koroni got a console version done by Alchemist, and that version has much better graphics. While personally I do still love the style from Ryukishi07, some people may just hate it. so there were a lot of improvements that were done in the game, especially for the console version, which are very good. And this version actually, when you install it, it does update back some music, because the Manga Gamer version of the game actually changed music as well. So we may hear back the older music. So that being said, let's get started and see how that mod changed the game overall, and we can compare with the older game preview versions that I did, if you would like. So let's get started with that. Video opening might contain minor spoiler. Do you want to enable it anyway? Of course we want to. We want to see what that opening's about. Oh my goodness, even with a new style of the 07 expansion logo. Alright, that 07 Smurf mod. Oh, that already looks different. So Ryukishi07, when he did the first game, when he started to do it, he did it with a lot of imagery that he did by himself. If I remember properly, he did photos himself of a lot of places, and then he added a lot of blur and effects on top of them. So that's why some of the photos look really cool in the original game. I think he still did that with Umineko no Naku Koroni, which is like the next When They Cry franchise. With Sikonia, I think he still did that too, actually. I may probably need to replace Sikonia one of these days when Phase 2 is coming up. But just a quick thing, I did start the game directly with a full screen mode to avoid what happened on the other version of my video, where actually I updated it and then it created that very distorted version of the video, and I apologize for that. So you can see here now I can just character sprite between the console and remake. I'm personally not a fan of the remake version. It's not that the sprites are not good, but it's just weird to me. I don't know, there's something weird about it. You will see that if you go to continue, I have the old save state that from the previous game, and apparently it does not work anymore. So what I will have to be very careful to not lose those. I guess that if I load them, the game just crash, or at least that's what the 07 mod said. But you can see that all of those are older save state, which eventually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up some of those and make dedicated video, because some parts are really parts of the games that are amazing. Like this one is when you get started to understand certain things of the game with Tomitake-san. But anyway, we're not gonna go through this. Let's see if there's something new. So on the extra, the all cast review session is like the what they call the tea party in Umineko. It's really like something interesting to see, but I don't want to spoil you, so we're not gonna go for that. There's the chapter jump. So there's a total of 15 days on the game, and that's all you read generally. I'm not gonna go into the details here because otherwise we're gonna go through the spoiler area. And there's what we call tips, and this I'll be very careful. Alright, the music from the tips is different. It's funny because I felt that the previous version was good too. I know a lot of people say that the manga gamer replacement music were not great, but you know what? Some of them were not that bad. I remember the music for Rena is not too bad either. But I'm gonna skip all that because I don't want to show you spoils. So let's go back and I just get started a new game and then see that opening, I assume, that video opening. Onikakushi opening Demand Away chapter. Welcome to the world of Higurashi when they cry. The Onikakushi arc will be the opening, inviting you into this world. Sit back, relax, and enjoy life in Inamizawa to the fullest. The difficulty of this chapter is extremely high, but I hope you will enjoy the reward. So let's get started to see Onikakushi. Please do not deplore yourself, and even if the world does not forgive you, I will forgive you. Please do not deplore yourself, even if you do not forgive the world, I will forgive you. So please tell me, what will it take for you to forgive me? Frederica Berntganstel. Oh, I read it on time. Okay, we're in June 1983. We don't know exactly the date, but somewhere in June. Okay, they did change that. So in the original game, remember, I had to go very fast in order to actually read those texts. But apparently in this case, they decided not to do that, which is good. So let's get for it. I assume it's Keishi talking here. Keishi is the main character, Keishi Maebara. I think. Keishi Maebara. So let's get started. If I was going to be ripped apart anyways, having my body ripped apart would be far better. I trusted her. No, I still trust her. Even in this very moment, I trust her. But I'm starting to realize I only wanted to trust her because I refused to accept the truth. It was as if I was trying to convince myself in such a silly, sobbing voice. And those tears making a mess of my face. That mechanical, repetitious sound finally stilled, and everything felt silent. Only the cry of the cicadas remained annoyingly loud. So we can still... So I did a right click just to see if you can see the full background, and it still seems to be the case. Everything is different right now from a design standpoint, from a graphic standpoint. It's very different. And yet, I felt as if I could still hear a voice. But that's not possible. She is no longer speaking. The only one crying is me. She never cried. Even when she repeated those words over and over, she never expressed any emotion, because there were none to show. If she had no tears to shed for me, then I shouldn't need to shed any for her. Then why this pain, my eyes getting moist? Why was this happening? I still wanted to believe. I hadn't been split apart. That's enough, right? Inside me, an inner voice whispered gently. My spirit had suffered enough, and countless times I'd wavered over whether I should just throw the battered thing away. Except, I've stubbornly refused to do that, haven't I? I'd feel better if I just threw it away. Even knowing that, I chose to believe, didn't I? Only I can understand that painful struggle and appreciate it. Hey, me? I've tried more than enough. I'll acknowledge that much. So, isn't it alright to just take the easy way out? Besides, I'm not throwing it away. I'm leaving it behind with her, like flowers by a grave. Now then, calm your nerves, even though you can't feel your right arm. Just lift it up, and with every swing, forget a little more. That kindness made me happy. That adorable smile brought me joy. I liked petting your head. I loved how demure you were. Because this will be the last time. Because when I swing this down, I'll forget. This is my first and last bouquet for you. Perhaps I really did love you. Higurashi when they cry. Welcome to Inamizawa. So that is an Higurashi, what you see here on the screen. So this is the opening of the Higurashi no Naku Koroni Kizuna? Is that Kizuna? I think the name's that Kizuna, but I'm not 100% sure. Um, which is the PlayStation 3 game that was done by Alchemist. And if you wonder, that I think the song is named Nageki no Mori, and it was sung. It was sing. I don't even know how to say that in English. Oh my god! But the song was from oh my goodness! It was sung by. It was sang by, or whatever you do that, Ayane. Ayane is one of those very famous visual novel singer. Personally, I found her amazing, and I have a lot of songs from Ayane. You may hear her on Higurashi games, but you can hear her mostly on Memories of visual novel songs. I think you have her also on 11 Eyes, which is another visual novel that actually I never played. Never did I watch the anime, but I know the openings. What else? Well, anyway, Ayane is somebody that I really admire, and I think that she's done an incredible job of on a lot of opening songs that she did, or ending songs. And one day I should probably create a whole show just about her and about what I think, or I don't know, maybe a top songs or whatever. Anyway, as you can see, this opening kind of spoils stuff, but if you never played the games, to be fairly honest with you, you will not understand any of it. So it's not really spoilers in my personal thought, but you can see kind of like the main characters. Obviously, it started with showing you the 4 main characters apart from Keiichi himself, which are Rena, Mio, Satoko, and Rika. Those 4 girls will be extremely important in the whole story, and then we showed some other stuff. So for some of you that played other chapters, you may quickly understand what they were referring to in a bunch of stuff. I'm not gonna spoil it here, but maybe when we're gonna go to the Watanagashi chapter, I may talk a teensy bit more about what we saw. Who knows? Anyway, let's continue quickly. I don't want to do a full hour on this one. I'm trying to do maybe 30 to 40 minutes. And my hope as well is that my voice will not have I hope that I can quickly add the voice track on top of that video, because I'm using Action as a recording software, and I always try to get it in a version where the video and the sound from the video is separated from my voice. So there is a voice track. Why am I doing that is because I always love to show a version without my voice, no commentary. And you can see that on my YouTube channel, at least, I show all the no commentary mode of most of my videos. So like that you can see it without having my voice on top of it, which may be a blessing for some of you. Who knows? I don't know. I'm hoping that my voice is not too annoying, but you never know that, right? So here you have why sometimes you may see that there's a difference in my voice track and a difference between what you can see now. And sometimes I have the impression that Action, when it sees that there's no activity from my microphone, it just lose the time. So it would be interesting to see what's happened during that cicada moment on the opening video, where I actually said something on purpose just for myself to see if my guess is right, which is if the system sees that there's no talking during a long period of time, it just stopped to record. And that will be extremely annoying if it's the case, because when I tried to do the Witcher video, that is my previous game preview, or at least that's the one that you probably see as the previous one from this, it just was a mess. I had to do a lot of change on the voice track, and I don't even think I did a good job still. I still think that you can see the difference sometime at the moment where I talk about some of the gameplay elements, and some of them just disappearing either before or after my voice says something. Anyway, let's continue here, shall we? Okay, let's see what's written here. Somebody has been apologizing for a while now. I wonder what she's apologizing for. It felt wrong to eavesdrop, so I tried to ignore it. It had been a while since I'd last went to the city, only returned to attend the funeral of a relative. Even though I'd lived there until last month, I found the bustle of the city to be overwhelming. The skyscrapers and the multi-lane roads, the melodious cacophony of the crosswalk. Even the campaign speeches blaring in front of the station felt nostalgic. The place where I live now isn't nearly as lively. There's only the chirping of locusts and the babbling of brooks, and the cry of the Higurashi, the evening cicadas. Rather than making me feel lonely, that quietness had begun to instill a sense of serenity. There is nothing where I'm living now. I don't just mean that there aren't any burger joints. There aren't even vending machines. No music stores, no restaurants, and no arcades. An ice cream parlor? No chance. The nearest town has some stuff like that, but it's like an hour away by bike. But come to think of it, it wasn't really a big deal. There were music stores and arcade and ice parlors where I used to live, but it wasn't like I ever hung out at any of them. I had lived in the city for 10 years and never once been to an ice cream parlor. I should have gone at least once. It's only now that I'm starting to regret that a little. Somebody is still apologizing. Where is she apologizing to? She apologized too much. So just forgive her already. There's no reason anyone should ever need to apologize so much. I started to feel a bit annoyed at whoever was refusing to forgive her. No matter how bad the mistake, there's nothing that can't be forgiven. There's no such thing as a irreparable mistake. You just need to be more careful next time. She's still apologizing, even now. Then, has she really done something that can't be fixed? I have no idea what she's done, but if it can be fixed, then that's all the more reason to forgive her. No matter how much she apologizes, nothing will change. But even so, she keeps apologizing in such a heartbreaking voice. Hey, you, the one she's apologizing to, why don't you just go ahead and forgive her? She's apologizing in such a pathetic voice. Alright, that's where it starts to have voice. So now we know that it was the dad, Keiichi's dad, that was talking here, because sometime on the previous version that we played, you don't necessarily know who is actually talking. So sometimes it's a bit of a mess, like, oh, is that Rena? Is that Mio? Is that Keiichi himself? You don't know. But in this case now you will know. And let's see. Okay, so those are the logs. So the logs look a little bit different here too. I think that they use a better font. It'll be very interesting to see the difference. Everything changed, even those logos on the right side that you can see that I'm going through here changed. Okay, so we have Keiichi's dad saying that we're almost there. I was finally roused by my nap by my father's prodding. I didn't read that properly, I think. Is that prodding? It seemed the train had reached its final stop. It's so different. Everything is drawn now, which is the big difference. We spent hours riding everything from the bullet train to the local routes. It was hard to believe that the landscape beyond the window and the city I was in half a day ago were in the same country. No, that they were even from the same era. From there, we take a car deeper into the mountains. We still did a good job because it really looked like what the original picture was, but the only difference is that it's completely drawn, and they decided to not have that effect of blurriness, obviously, because here it's a real design, like somebody really drawn that 100%. And at the same time, it kind of changed a little bit the coloring, because sometimes the way that the original game has it was somewhat blurry, but at the same time has a tweak in colors, so like that it's changed the and lightness, I guess. So it changed kind of like the mood. So it'll be very interesting to see now that everything is drawn. How does it change that? Oh my god, that looks so different. So this is supposed to be like close to be one of the main walks that the character does in order to go back home. Anyway, past where the dense forest encroaching on the mountain road suddenly opened up. Ah, look at that! Hinamizawa looks so different here. There, where I live now, Hinamizawa. Oh my goodness, that looks so different. Let's take a screenshot of that. So the interesting thing in the previous version is that the photos were not big enough, so basically it doesn't cover the full screen. Here now it does. I think that when it wasn't picking up the full screen, sometimes it kind of gave a little bit of charm to it, because it was kind of giving you like the effects that, oh, it's oldies, like it's the 1980s or something. But maybe I over-exaggerate. Well, I'm trying to think, does it really not take the full screen? I'll have to check that back again. It's funny how you just move from one to the other and you don't necessarily realize the big differences straight off the bat, or it makes you think, oh, did I miss something? But I do think that... No, I don't think it takes the full screen. I think that there were like a little bit on the left and the right that was just dark. And then the text was in the center, obviously, and on top of it. Whereas here you can see that the text is below the image. So the image is taking 3/4 of your screen, and then the text is taking 1/4. And there's pros and cons to that, right? The pros is that it may be easier to read, but the cons at the same time is that if you want to talk about the full story, you cannot take a picture of it easily. Like, you have to go to the text log in order to take a picture of it. Anyway, let's continue. Even though we were approaching summer, the morning air still had a frigid bite. Although, in exchange, you could fill your lungs up with crisp, clean air. Flipping open the window, I was greeted with a verdant expanse. Nothing but trees. The neighboring house was far away on the other side, so I was probably the only one enjoying that view and that air. I filled my lungs with another deep breath. Since I started living in Inamizawa, I learned that even air had its own taste. Okay, so this music used to be the older music. We changed it on the other version. I think this version of the version that is used on the Manga Gamer update are both actually nice enough. I think it's not a big change. I quickly finished getting ready for school and headed downstairs for breakfast. Oh geez, this looks very different from the original. So that we completely changed the background, because on the original actually the table you cannot see it from left to right. I think it was more like a top-down view in a way. And it's as if that the house was much more restrictive. Here it looks much more open. Anyway. My mother was the only one there. My father was nowhere to be seen. He was probably up working until the early morning. Dad has a rather unconventional job as a painter. It's such a laid-back profession. Get up what you want when you want, sleep when you want, and work when you want. I was so jealous of that easygoing lifestyle. I even wrote for school that I wanted to be a painter when I grew up. Dad was ecstatic about that. So when we talk about painter here, I think that we're talking about painter like art style painting, like the painting that you see here up in the center. I don't know if at the beginning of the game or the previous game preview I understood it this way. I understand it, I think, in a different way, like a painter that will paint for construction zone, like, you know, like painting the houses and stuff like that. But no, not at all. It's like an artistic paint in this case. He's an artist. Or at least that's the way I understood it afterwards, because we talk about art galleries and all those kind of stuff. It was just because it looked easy. I'd never tell him that for. Mom laid breakfast out on the table. Seaweed, pickled vegetables, raw eggs and grilled salmon. My mom was such a good cook, it was scary. A perfect, immaculate, ideal breakfast. Unlike my dad, who didn't even know the meaning of the word schedule, my mom never squandered any time or effort. She hummed a little tune as she brought over the miso soup. It seemed like she was in a good mood today. Okay, Keiichi's mom. I'm so happy you've been waking up early since we moved here, Keiichi. That's so bizarre to hear voice, because obviously on the original game there were no voice. And then, to be fairly honest with you, on my side, I watched the anime first, so I don't remember the anime that much because it's been so long I didn't watch it. But the first time I ever played that game, I probably were thinking about the anime a lot. Anyway, so this time is Keiichi. If I don't get up early, I don't make it in time for your early breakfast. I thought I was being cute, responding with a wisecrack after being praised for being good. Keiichi's mom. Full bowl of rice will have be enough. Keiichi. Pile it on. First, I severed the steaming hot rice with the seaweed. After that, I covered it with the egg. Between bites of rice, I enjoyed the crunch of the pickles. Not bad at all. Excellent, as usual. Watching me clean my plate, Mom gave me a warm smile. Keiichi's mom. I'm so happy you haven't skipped breakfast even since we moved here, Keiichi. I was not a morning person when we lived in the city. I slept right until the last minute before school and rarely ate breakfast. Boycotting the breakfast Mom made me each morning. That was probably the only way I could protest being forced to attend cram school. I guess that's what you would call my rebellious phase. I wouldn't so much as look at the breakfast she woke up early every day to make. If I could go back in time, I'd slap myself. Mindful of the time, Mom rushed me along with a wide grin. Kenshi's mom. Isn't it about time you meet up with Rena-chan?
急いで急いで。
Hurry, hurry! Mom really seemed to enjoy the fact that her son was going to school with a girl. Reina is one of my classmates. She really loved looking after people coming to meet me every day without fail. The way I look at it, a guy my age walking to school with a girl was just lame. But, well, keeping a classmate waiting for me every day wouldn't be very considerate. Seriously though, how long does Reina wait there for me every morning? Taking one last gulp of miso soup, I rest for the door. You know what? You know what? It's very funny because I'm just realizing that for people who play Doki Doki Literature Club, you pretty much have the same start point. And it's funny because I guess that people that really love Doki Doki Literature Club should probably love Higurashi no Naku Kori, because it's pretty much very similar in a sense of the way that it's developing itself is the same. I think that Higurashi is much better. Sorry. Okay, let me rephrase that. I think that Higurashi no Naku Kori has a much better story than Doki Doki Literature Club because it's much more like evolved, and I think that the style from 07 expansion, and particularly the writer here, which is Ryukishi07, is much more evolved. I think that it's much more philosophical in a sense, and the way that things are written is so smartly done. And I don't think that Doki Doki Literature Club is not well done either, by the way. It's not true. I really love the game, and I really love one particular part of the game. But that being said, I think that Doki Doki Literature Club play much more on the scary things than Higurashi. I think Higurashi is much more psychological in a sense, which is very similar to Mineko. I think Mineko is very psychological too, and that makes it much more scary in a way, and it makes it much more smarter too, because then there's a bunch of themes that's coming up at you. Like here, obviously, the theme will be about friendship. And I think that it's very important to understand that, because it really gives that aspect of, oh my god, I nearly want to cry for those people. I think you just connect much more with the characters in this game. But, you know, the difference between a paid game and a free game is also something important to consider, right? Although this is a doujin, right? So it's basically like some kind of, it's not a fan game, but in a way it was done in a way that looks like fan games. So when you think about it, those two games can very well be compared and be considered very similar in a sense. But I digress. I did love Doki Doki Literature Club. Don't think that I did not, but it's just interesting the small difference, but also the small similarities that those two games has when I think about it. Okay, let's continue. Keiichi's mom. Please thanks Rena-chan for the pickles. Come to think of it, these pickles weren't store-bought, were they? If I'd known that, I would have savored them a bit more. Ayo. Keiichi, morning. Okay, let's see Rena. Oh my god, we're gonna see Rena. So this is the original theme for Rena on the original game. It's funny because I feel that the new music for Rena is actually more emotional. But I'm very curious to see, like, the more I evolve into chapters, what do they use for Rena? But yeah, her name is Rena Ryu. It's Rena Ryugu, right? And Rena Ryugu, why she's named this way? I already mentioned that on my previous video, I guess, but Higurashi 07 seems to be a big fan of Final Fantasy V, so he named Rena, like the character of Final Fantasy V. And yeah, that's about it. My goal is to finish at the same place that we finished it last time, basically meeting Mion for the first time. So let's get going. Her cheerful greeting was as fresh as the morning itself. And just to show you like the full version, that's a beautiful screen. Like, it could work as a screensaver. Keiichi, you're always so early. You should try sleeping in sometime. Oh, they even have the mouth moving in this one. Well, it kind of makes sense. I mean, like, if it's a PlayStation 3 game version that you're trying to reproduce, like, you better have a better version. If I sleep in, I'll keep you waiting. She's so conscientious and such a good person. Keiichi, if that ever happens, I'll just leave you behind. Keiichi-kun, you're so cold. I wait for you all the time. Keiichi, I'll leave you in the dust. Without looking back. Rena, why are you so mean? Why? Rena had a slightly troubled look on her face. Toying with her was rather fun because of how quickly her mood changed. Keiichi, I'm kidding. I'd wait for you. With those words, Rena seemed to relax. Her face flushed bright red. Rena, thank you. Keiichi, I'd wait forever until you came, Rena. Well, I don't know if you would think that way later on in the game, and just to give a little bit of a spoil, but no matter how long. Rena, forever. Rena turned bright red, steam rising from her head as her brain short-circuited, whatever. She's especially weak to this sort of talk. It's quite rare to find someone this fun to tease. Keiichi, have you ever read a romance novel, Rena? Rena, I haven't. Never read any before. From that response, I gathered she was interested in them, but was too embarrassed to actually buy one. I couldn't imagine what would happen if she did read one. She'd probably turn red and pass out. Keiichi, oh yeah, message from mom. She says thanks for the pickles. Rena, it was nothing. You're welcome. However, not too salty? They weren't that salty. Actually, they had a pretty light flavor to them. It would have been fine to just be honest and say they were good, but apparently I couldn't be that forthright. Keiichi, I'd like to ask something before that. Were you the one who pickled them, Rena? Or was it your mom? Rena, huh? Why do you ask? Were they too salty? Her attitude completely changed as she began to panic frantically. Keiichi, was it you, Rena? Or was it your mom? Lena. What? Why are you asking who made them? Why?
どっちが作ったかで感想が著しく変わる。
Katie, depending on who made them, my opinion of them might change drastically. Katie is such a Rena. She counted frantically on her fingers, trying to remember the amount of salt she's used to pickle them. It wasn't like I was trying to tease her, but I couldn't stop myself. Guys who take pleasure in these kind of things are probably the worst. Guys like me. Rena nervously opened and closed her mouth over and over, trying to muster a response. Rena. It was me.
うまかった。
Katie. Delicious. Rena. Huh?
前回に続きなかなかだったぜ。飯との相性は最高だった。
Katie. Pretty good, just like the last ones. They went perfectly they went perfectly with the rice. Her face went bright red again. She was completely spacing out. It really was a lot of fun to tease her. I pray that Rena never gets taken advantage by some lowlife. Keep at it, Rena. I'll train you until you handle it like the average person. Or so I decided for myself.
行こうぜ。ミオンを待たせるとあいつうるさいぞ。
Kechi, let's go! If we keep Mion waiting, we'll never hear the end of it. Seeing that she just keeps spacing out otherwise, I called Rena back to reality so we could make our way to school. This strange, easily flustered girl is Rena Ryugu. I've only known her for about a month, but I've come to realize it's not just her name that's strange. Lena. Mi-chan, good morning. Coming up to the next rendezvous point, we saw another person waiting for us. Noticing us, she waved.
お、来た来た。遅いよ二人とも。
Mio. Ah, finally! You two are late! And this is Mio Sonozaki, another very important character. In this first game, I would say that Rena and Mio are probably the most important one, somewhat. I guess Rena is the most important one in this one, but anyway. Let's continue super quickly and then we're gonna stop.
いつも遅いのはお前の方だろ。
Keiichi, usually you're the one who's late. In sharp contrast to the diligent Rena, this one marched to the beat of her own drum. She is Mion Sonozaki. For what it's worth, she's our senior and head of the
お
class.
はようレナ。そしてケイちゃんお久しぶり。
Mion. Morning, Rena. And it's been a while, Kei-chan.
何年ぶりだっけ？
How many years?
2日しか休んでねえよ。
Keiichi. I was only off 2 days. Mio.
そうだっけか？
You don't
前
say.
に会った時はこんなにちっちゃくて可愛かったのにな。
You were such a cute little tyke the last time I saw you. Mion's gaze started at my chest, then dropped straight down, focusing on the points between my legs. So she was saying it was my crotch that was cuter back then. Before you asked, just to be clear, I've never actually tried to show it to her. Keiji, I've grown quite splendidly. You'd be surprised. Oh my god. Mion. Not only is bigger, but he has a little mustache now. Keiichi. Being so engorged with energy every morning is quite a problem for... I'll introduce you next time, so be sure to greet him properly. Mion. Don't say next time. Right now is just fine. How about letting the little guy get a breath of fresh morning air? I don't think I've ever heard talk so dirty you could smell it falling up the morning air before. Mion sure does act like an old man sometimes. Kechi, gotcha! Time for the big reveal! Hope you don't regret it! As my hand reached for my fly, Rena began to ramble in a near panic. Rena, hey! What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Red-faced and flustered, Rena tried to play dumb, but it was obvious she knew exactly what we're talking about.
どうだった？
Mian, how is it?
久しぶりの都会はさ。
Seeing the city again? Mian switched gears, dropping the dirty talk and changing the topic to something more befitting the pleasant
葬式で
morning.
行っただけだぜ。慌ただしいだけだったよ。
Kechi, I only went for a funeral. I didn't have much
で
time.
さ、探しといてくれた？
Mian, so yeah, did you look for
頼んどい
it?
たやつ。
That thing I asked
お
for?
い、人の話聞いてないだろ。
Kechi, you're not listening at
俺
all.
は葬式で帰っただけだぜ。
I just came back from a funeral.
おもちゃ屋巡りをしてる余裕なんかなかったんだよ。
I didn't have any time to look around in toy stores. I should probably take some quick pictures.
ち。
Mian.
おもちゃ屋とホビーショップは全然違うよ。
Toy stores and hobby shops are completely different, you know?
特に洋物、こっちじゃなかなか手に入らないからね。
It's really difficult to get Western stuff around here after all.
みーちゃんまたゲームの話？
Rena, is it about games again, Mi-chan? And actually, since it's all about games and that we played for like nearly an hour now, that's time to stop. So thank you everyone for watching once again the Tosso show, and this time about Higurashi no Naku Colony again, which you can name Higurashi when they cry or whatever you want to name it. That was the first episode Onikakushi-hen, and next time I'm probably gonna do a game preview of Watanagashi, an hour of it probably, which will probably talk more about Inamizawa itself and some of the folklore elements than the first episode that kind of tried to introduce absolutely everything to your face, kind of. And to be fairly honest, Onikakushi, I finished it recently, and I can say that it's still really good. It's still really good. I still find it like a very fun read. Well, fun. I would say that it's a very interesting read, because I don't know if it's always fun, but what I mean that is not that, because the word fun means that it's something pleasant to read, right? And it is pleasant to read. The only problem is that sometimes there is very dark theme into that game. You may think at the beginning it's so like light-hearted and simple and fun, but it changed quite drastically. So that's why I love that game so much, and that's why I was doing the reference of Doki Doki Literature Club at a little bit earlier. It's because those two games has the same way of introducing things, and that make it pretty special. So thank you everyone for watching Tosu Show. I hope that you like the show. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like seeing more of this. I'm trying to do my best to represent multiple type of games, whether they're indie games or whether they're recent games or whether they're also retro games. And I hope you like the selection of games that I have, and hope that you learn things from it. So thank you so much everyone. Please subscribe to my channel, and please don't hesitate also to follow me on Facebook, where I have kind of like the same amount of items, but I do add a lot of game screenshots as well. So if you really want to see a bunch of The Last of Us Part 2 or Final Fantasy VII Remake screenshots, you can definitely go to my channel. To my Facebook page. So thank you everybody, and hopefully I will see you soon. Matane! Bye!